Hey guys, Mr. Riz here. So I'm going to help you guys out get started with the next game or next app that we're going to be making, which is 114. So this first part here, there's going to be nothing that you guys submit, but it's vital that you guys do take your time with the first part because it's crucial that we set everything up the right way. So as we go throughout all the parts, and you can see there's going to be lots of them, we take our time with it and we have a good foundation. So let's talk about local and global variables in the guessing game. Here we go. So our goal here is to make sure we've learned what it is to use local variables and global variables. And we're going to try to write programs using pseudo language and in a natural language. So that's just like how we talk, but coding kind of. And then we're going to develop an app for independent for multiplayer game possible. So we're going to go through a lot of different iterations here. So let's first talk about the user story. So I might as well just make this larger before we look at App Inventor. Okay, so is there anything? Yeah, we can download the icon if we want, but let's go through this. So developers tend to identify a market or a need before developing a program, starting with the user story to describe the desired app. The initial user story is broken down into actionable items or features that can be created. Each actionable item of the user story is an item in a list called a backlog. So a backlog breaks down what the user wants into a sequential and prioritized list of needs to be done to make the app do whatever the user wants. During this course, you'll take the user stories and break them into small manageable pieces that you can code. And in fact, if you guys look at the assignments, I've already broken them down. So we didn't want to just give you this whole assignment all at once. We wanted to break it down into smaller pieces. By completing each small piece one by one, you can test the app and check with the user to make sure the app development meets their user's needs. While you break down the user story of needs, these are the types of questions to ask yourselves about the design of the app. So what features will you need? What should the interface look like? How big should the screen be? Will the user ever need to scroll down? How does the accelerometer provide inputs on which the sprite should move? How does the app know where the sprite is and whether the sprite should move to? All right, so those are all questions we've done before. So using these steps below, you will build the user interface for an app. An example image of the user interface is provided. Yours may look a little different, and that's okay. You may choose to lay out these components differently by dragging and dropping them to see as you fit. Just make sure you include all the components based on the activity's directions. So here's the design overview, the guessing game. So the user story is a group of students wants a game that they can play on their Android device while riding the bus. Work to develop a game app that they like. The initial user story is defined, but like all user-centric developments, you will create the app incrementally and give feedback from the user. They may even provide suggestions to make the app better. And we'll kind of just talk together as a class about that part. In the game, the user will have a limited number of attempts to guess a number program into the code. You will add a two-player mode where player 2 can enter a number and player 1 can try to guess it. This app will allow the user to enter a number and a second user to try to guess the number. So here's the initial breakdown with the individual sprint text, and you can see these assignments are already gone through, but the user needs to be able to guess a number. So that means they have a text box to enter the number guessed and a button to input the number. And they need to receive feedback to adjust their guess. So the feedback label tells the prompt user to guess higher or lower. The feedback label also tells the user how many guesses are left. And the feedback label lets the user know when they've lost or won. And then we also need a control over the game condition. So a text box to enter the number of player, the number is player trying to guess, a button to input the number the player is trying to guess, a way to limit the number of guesses, and a reset/play again button. So our final version of the game should look like this, where we have a guess button up here. It will say lower or higher and tell them how many guesses are left. We'll let them know if they win or lose. We'll have this secret number here. So everything, you can see some of these are in horizontal arrangements, and then a reset button. So just to show you again, like close up what we're going to be doing here. And if you ever want to make these larger, it might be better to do that. So let's go ahead and get App Inventor started up as we go through this. So let's go to start a new project here. And we're going to name this name just like how we always do, name and then 114 and P1. And this is really important. Oh, we got to make sure that we're logged in, that you do itemize all these parts because we will be sending in or submitting different parts. So let me try it again. I'm going to log in here. I'm going to do a new project. My name, 114 P1. It's going to be blank. Okay, and in fact, I'm going to try to drag some of this over here. This over here. There we go. That looks a little bit better. All right, I'll drag my text down here. All right, so what we're going to do first, from the layout drawer, we're going to drag out a horizontal arrangement. So in our layout drawer, we're going to click a horizontal arrangement and drag it in there. So this horizontal arrangement will let us drag things into it, and we'll keep everything kind of centered and go through. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to drag put multiple components in there. Okay, we're going to drag a button into user interface. So let's go to a button. We're going to drag it out, and we're actually going to put it into the horizontal arrangement. We're going to rename that button. So click rename guest button. And we're going to change one property in here to the text of the guest button. So instead of saying text for button 1, we're going to change that to guests. All right, and we might want to change that later on depending on how our app works, and we'll talk about that together as a class. Next, we're going to drag out a text box. So here's the text box, and we're going to drag that into the horizontal arrangement as well. Let's see, can I get it in there? There we go. All right, so this text box will allow the user to type in some information. And so we're going to rename this as guest input. And underneath the properties, we're going to change the text to, get this. Now, I'm going to actually, if we make the text, we could do enter here, enter your guess here. I'm not going to recommend that. Because if we do that, that means the person will, and when they click on it, they'll have to go back and click every single one and delete that, delete those all. I'm going to change that to a hint. Enter your guess here. So a text is actually going to be like a string that's saved into the box that the user will have to delete. The hint is on the box, you'll see it, but inside there'll be like a gray text. And as soon as you click on it, that gray text will disappear. So the hint will be a better use to do. All right, so next what we're going to do is take a moment to adjust the properties of the horizontal arrangement. So we might want to make this horizontal arrangement. We have the height, which is pretty good. We might want to change the width to fill parent, and then maybe even enter the guess to width fill parent. So that way it goes across the screen. And this is kind of up to you to mess around with that. All right, next we're going to add another horizontal arrangement. So we'll go to layout and we'll add a horizontal arrangement right below that. And we're going to enter in 3 labels. So click label, and we're just going to go 1, 2, 3. All right, so label 1, we're going to rename that as lower higher label. And we could change the text to that to lower/higher, which this is what will tell the user to get whether they are lower or higher. All right, next we're going to have a win-lose label. So we're going to rename that as win-lose label. And we'll make the text that win or lose. And then we'll make our third label here called the guesses left label. Guesses left label. And we're going to change the text of that to say like guesses left. All right. Now, eventually we might move these around, make them when we start the game up, not have the same text, but we're going to change these. So this should be like, okay, so far our game is the user's going to type in a number here. They're going to click guess. This label will change to tell them whether it's lower or higher. This label will then at the end say whether they win or lose, and this label will change and tell them how many guesses they have left. All right, next we're going to drag a button on the interview first, and we're going to name that play button. Actually, I already don't like the name of that. So I'm going to drag a button on here. We're going to change the properties of this button to say reset/play again. And I'm going to change the name from play button to, let's do replay button. If I think play button, I might think that's guess, but replay button, I know that means to like restart the game. You might even want to call it the reset button. All right, next we're going to add a way for the second player to pick a number from the first. So we're going to drag out another horizontal arrangement. All right. Now this one, it does say to rename the horizontal arrangement the multiplayer arrangement. That probably gives us a clue that we're going to change the properties of this later on. And we're going to drag out a text box. So let's do that here and drag out a button as well. So the text box, we're going to rename that as enter num text. Enter num text. Oop. And maybe the hint for this one is we'll change like enter the secret number here. And we're going to make this a number only. So that means the user can only type in numbers. And then the button here, we're going to rename this as enter num button. And this, we need to change the text. So maybe we'll change the text to click here to save secret number. Ooh, okay, so you can see that's pretty long. So let's do, what if we do this? Change the width to fill parent and change this width to fill parent. Will that help us out? Oh, I probably need to change the multiplayer width to fill parent. There we go. So that way we have it on the screen. So what's supposed to go on here is now this box will have it set up that if we're playing multiplayer, they can enter a number in here, they could save that secret number, and then what's going to do, and the reason why we named this arrangement here is because then once we save the number, like if I make the number 7, I don't want to save it and then have the user give the tablet over and see the user, okay, oh, they see the secret number is 7, so we'll make this stuff all go away. Okay, so now that we have this set up, we're going to work on our variables. And really when it comes to this class, there's going to be 2 types of variables. And to know which one to use is important when you think about what the variable will be doing. So we're going to look at the examples below to see what each one does. So a global variable can be accessed and referenced by any part of the program, which means it has a global scope. At any point in the code, the program can access or get the value. At any point in the code, the program can be changed or set the value as well. So this is all works for a global variable. In this program, you'll need to set up 2 global variables to store the information that all parts of the program will need. Using a large number of global variables adds complexity to your program because all parts of the program can change the global variables. If a global variable is providing unexpected results, it can take longer to track down what part of the program is changing that global variable in the undesired way. So the global variables for this program are, and here we go. So global variables are nice because they can be used anywhere at any time and they can be set, so they can be used at one part or a different part. The problem with global variables is that if you do have an error with them, you're not sure what part of the code is causing that global variable to mess up. So we're going to make a global variable by doing this. We're first going to go set out a global variable, and we're going to do initialize global, and that's how we set one up. We're going to call this one guesses remaining. And we're going to set that to math 10. And then the other one we're going to do is secret number. So we'll set another variable. We're going to initialize secret number, change the name of it to secret number. And we're going to set that equal to, and right now we're just going to do 55, but eventually we'll have that change. All right. So the local variables, which cannot be accessed at all parts of the program, the local variables can be used like we've had anytime we use the drag out to drop. So you guys can see in these, whenever we get a variable, those are all local to that specific function. So you think about the accelerometer had local variables for the X, Y, and Z acceleration. The happy image dot edge reach, the edge was a local variable. So those all were just variables only specific to a part of the program. So those are nice because if there's an error, you know exactly where the error is coming from. But the one thing that's kind of bad about those local variables is that they have a local scope, meaning they can not only be accessed within that part. You can't use that same variable in another part of the code. All right, so what we will eventually do here is we're going to define another local variable called variable guess. So that will be a number that's only used when we are guessing the variable. So when we have the code for checking the guess, we're going to use the variable local or variable guess. So let's do a set one up, and we have to set it up during a event. So let's click on the guess button, and when guess button dot click, we're going to go to our variables, and we're going to initialize a local one. So that means this variable will only work when we're in this. And that variable's name is going to be called variable guess. And we're going to set that equal to the guessed input text. So guessed input, and we're going to look for the dot text. There it is, not set, but there, we're going to get it. So what's going on here? We have an event and variables being set. So with the event is the guess button is clicked. We're going to make a new variable that's made just one time and used only this one time, and it's going to be equal to whatever the person typed in that text box. All right, so why would we use a local variable here? So the user clicks the guess button, and the value of the user guess in the text box will be set and stored to the local variable guess. From programming standpoints, the design will continue to expand, allowing the people to play with a person near them, or the next activity when they play against a computer generated number. In both of these circumstances, the user wins if they guess the correct secret number and loses if they cannot guess the number before they run out of guesses. By making a win and lose conditions contained in a local variable, you are helping to secure the conditions of the gameplay from being corrupted as you expand the gameplay options. So as we make this game bigger and bigger, we're securing this or making this have less mistakes if we make a local variable just for this one. Okay. So next, let's talk about variables in a condition. So now that we have understand the global variable holds the number that the user is trying to guess, 55, and the local variable guess is defined, you will be directed to how to add the conditional statement. All right. Conditional statements are a series of conditions that the computer moves through until it finds one that's true. This is exactly what the computer needs to do to compare the variable guess, which is what the user types in, and with the stored secret number, which is right now 55. All right, in the variables drawer, which is right here, and in the blocks view, you can see the set and get. So you can use these blocks anywhere, and we can just do that, and we just need to make sure that we have the global when it's outside, and if it's inside, we can choose also the variable guess. So we can make sure that the set is accessed. If it's inside, we can have the local ones and also the global ones as well. Now, if we get that little error, that means we've added something that does not work. Okay, so this is all we need to do to set up for part one. So part one was just getting our structure set up the right way. We have our screen looking like how we want it to. We could change, the screen color or anything like that. We can make the background color like green or anything we want. We could change the font size to make this look nicer. And in our blocks, our coding, we have two global variables set up for guesses remaining and secret variable. And we're starting to work on the code for when we click the guess button. Okay, so that's all we need to do right now. There's nothing need to submit, but it's going to take us some time to make sure that this is set up and I answer all your guys' questions in class. So we're going to start part two next, which will actually do some coding and we'll submit that. But that's kind of it for today. Thanks for watching part one. Hopefully you have a good start to this and you have some fun with this. This is going to be a really good app. All right. See you later, guys. Have a good one.